start.
Hello.
Oh,
We're
hello.
the Purana guys. Alan, Leon.
Yeah, as in, welcome to Purana Talk. We're on chapter 158 of section 1 of the Garuda Purana, Diseases. Dhanvantari said, is that loud?
No.
Now I shall explain the pathology of, here we go, Mutragata, suppression of urine or strangury.
M-U-T-U with a line.
Yeah, it's U. It's a long U, T-R, long A, G-H, long A, T-A. M-U-T-R-A-G-H-A-T-A. When I say long, it means it has a line over it, and it's given the longer sound in Hindi Sanskrit. So a U with a line over it is U as opposed to U. A with a line over it is A as opposed to if it doesn't have a line over it, and so forth. All right, I'm going to go back and just kind of run this through so we get to the end of the sentence in one sweep. First sentence, we've almost gotten through. Sentence 1. Now I shall explain the pathology of Mutraghata, Sushruta. Please listen. The urinary bladder, its top or outlet, the penis, the hip, the scrotum, and the rectum, all these are covered by a single peritoneum and are situated in the pelvic cavity. Though the bladder is placed with its face down, it is continuously filled with urinary secretions through the ducts carrying them and always exuding them. Doshas entering these secretions produce 20 diseases. Strangury and diabetes affect the vulnerable joints of the pelvis containing the bladder, thigh joints, and the penis. In the Vataja type, those caused by Vata dosha or an aggravation of the Vata, the urine is scanty and emitted constantly with the greatest pain. In the Pittaja type, it is yellow, giving rise to pain and burning sensation. In the Kaphaja type, it is red. The patient feels heaviness in the bladder and penis. Intumescence is also found there. 6 and 7. The urinary discharge is lubricious or tawny in color in a combined action of all doshas. When the deranged vayu turns the face of the bladder and dries it up, the urine is charged with pitta, kapha, or semen, and a terrible gravel is formed like a lump of gorochana, which is a limb of the pitta matter.
Here again, we may be getting venereal diseases mixed with urinary tract problems. So they've talked about stones, so
yeah,
that's interesting.
Fascinating. 8. In all cases, the deranged kapha is an exciting factor in Ashmari. Its premonitory symptoms are primary, prominent, predominant. Did he make this word up?
Well, a promontory is a geographic term, so it's misapplied
this
here.
This is premonitory. It's premonitory symptoms. So maybe like as in premonition, symptoms that foretell.
I don't know this word.
He comes up with some doozies, though.
Sometimes they're real words.
Yeah. Oh, they're often quite real and perhaps even useful. At another time, in another place. Inflammation of the urinary bladder and excruciating pain all around that in that region. All around it in that region. In all cases, deranged kapha is an exciting factor in Ashmari. Its premonitory symptoms are inflammation of the urinary bladder, excruciating pain all around it in that region. Sorry, sometimes I have to read it a couple of times to just
understand
get the flow of ideas and words. 9. The urine gets obstructed in the bladder. There is difficulty in passing urine. There is fever and non-relish for food. The general indications are pain in the umbilical region, foreskin of the prepuce, and the top of the urinary bladder, etc. 10. When there is obstruction in the passage by the gravel, the micturition is delayed and painful. If the patient passes urine after a long retention, the urine is clear and crystal colored and he feels great pain. 11. If it is excited, it comes out with blood and fleshy matter. There is pain in the passage, in the vayuja, resulting from vayu issues, concretion of urine, and the patient grinds his teeth and shakes violently. 12. The patient feels that something stops the urine and afflicts the navel. He evacuates the bowel with a gaseous discharge and urinates in drops frequently. The ashmari is tough and dark in color. It appears to be studded with thorns. Pitta brings about a burning sensation in the bladder. It appears hot as if being cooked. The concretions appear like the stones of balatika fruit, yellow and white in color. Due to the affliction of kapha, the bladder appears to be inflicted upon and is heavy and cool to the touch. Reminds me, I bought a custard apple. It must still be in the car or something. It never made it in. I couldn't resist. They're so weird looking, and they're quite delicious when they're ripe. Sitting in the car, it's probably not ripening very quickly. Just sharing.
Let us pray.
In infants, the ashmari is large, glossy, and what is that ashmari? I've lost track of what the ashmari is.
He didn't clearly tell us what it was.
Well, unless it came up yesterday. No, that was the atisara yesterday, not the ashmari.
No, he just started using it. He didn't really tell us what it is. It starts here.
Yeah, in 8 it tells you that in all cases the deranged kapha is an exciting factor in ashmari. We've got mutraghata, which is the blockage, urinary blockage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thanks, Professor.
Well,
I guess we get
sometimes it just seems so obvious to him. You can't imagine nobody would know.
I was thinking that the text would clarify if he didn't just get around to it.
Too, but it hasn't.
Yeah, but so
it may just mean something like condition. Who knows? But
yeah, it may be the focus of but it's visible. It's something that they're describing now in these things. They're saying in infants the ashmari is large, glossy, and honey-colored or white. Earlier it was like the balatika fruit.
Right.
So what the fuck?
Well, the stone.
Is it the stone that's being passed? Is it some discharge?
The is tough, dark in
color. Tough.
So I think it might be discharge.
It appears to be studded with thorns. Pitta brings about a burning sensation in the bladder. It appears hot as if being cooked. And then in balatika, it looks like the stones of the balatika fruit, yellow and white in color. And in infants, it's large, glossy, and honey-colored or white. Many children are affected by it.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about pediatrics to know if children suffer from kidney stone or some sort of equivalent thing.
Sure, you're never too young to have problems.
But it's sort of saying that it's it's a childhood.
I think it's a discharge from the urinary tract.
All right.
They're talking about, but I can't be sure.
Stay tuned for, if somebody knows. Our phone lines are open. All right, 16. Don't spend a lot of time trying to find our phone number. I'm lying about that. The phone lines are not open. 16, 17. Since they have not grown large or fully developed, they can be extracted easily. Shukrashmari, or concretion in semen, is generated by suppression of emission, and it is dreadful. So
they may be talking about kidney stones or something.
But they're describing it as concentration of semen.
Yeah. Well, it could
generated
seem
by
like that
suppression
'cause
of
it's
emission.
white, it's hard.
You know, so like the disease of
It comes from the same
celibates
place.
or something. The aggravated vayu collects and dries up the semen unreleased or dislodged from its original seat within the scrotum. In the scrotum, there's another interesting. It is then called shukrashmari. And shukra is Venus, but it also means, no, that's shukla, that's white. Shukra is Venus, so it's like the Venusian. Is it a venereal disease? I mean, literally, Venusian disease.
Could be.
All right. 18. It produces a painful swelling in the bladder, and micturition is very painful. The semen secreted becomes dry if there are shukrashmari formations. Whatever
that is.
It's the Venus Ashmari. That's the problem. We don't know what the Ashmari is, but Shukra Ashmari or Shukrashmari by Sunday. See how the two short A's become a long A?
Well, they certainly knew, they think of it as venereal in the Western traditions like Greek medicine.
Yes.
So they knew about that. So they might be making this association.
Okay. An attack of fever or chronic cough makes the urinary concretions into shakara, gravel, but it might be like shakara, which is sugar, which is, I wonder if they're concretions, crystallization,
Yeah, well, they've certainly seen sugar do that, so they know that it can do that. And they know they've made the association between sugar and diabetes also over here.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're talking about the substance as much as the texture.
Yeah.
They're calling it gravel, but,
well, they're saying
chunks
the
up.
crystals, which is how they come out, too. Like if you were to pee into a sieve and you were having this condition, you'd see these little things that look like crystals.
The internal vayu splits and crushes these concretions and sends them out along with the urine. If the vayu takes an adverse course, they lie within the bladder and mature.
Yeah.
The aggravated vayu may make the top of the bladder let out urine. Sometimes it may obstruct the flow of urine, and from its seat, it may generate pain.
So it really starts this in 18, is that right?
Starts what?
Talking about kidney stones.
Well,
the crystals and stuff, or is it earlier? I guess it's.
Well, it depends. If
right
you're talking about this
here,
ashmari as discharge that sometimes concentrates into stones. I mean, it really is a continuum, I suppose. Talks about blood coming out in fleshy matter. This is. It's just sort of getting more and more moving in the direction of describing stones.
But at least through
various
19.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you trace it back deeper, it goes from like 11. If you start talking about
vayu
concretion in semen is in 16 on.
Right.
16, 17, 18, 19. So, 20. The aggravated vayu may make the top of the bladder let out urine. Sometimes it may obstruct the flow of urine, and from its seat it may generate pain. 21. It may cover up the bladder, or lifting it, it may scatter it about. A great pain is felt with throbbings and irritation. 22. When the bladder is thus afflicted, the urine may come out in drops. The continuous flow is obstructed. This disease is called vatavasti. Vatavasti. Okay, yeah. But it's from vata. I'm not sure what the vasti, residing in vata. Or something like that. 23. It is difficult to be cured. The second one is still more difficult to be cured. The powerful vayu comes in between the path of feces and the bladder. 24. It generates a kind of thick, knotty, round, raised concretions called vata stila, globular seed-like concentrations caused by vayu.
So we've entered some sort of different disease now.
It's coming out the other end.
23, 24, or just 24?
Well, we're getting into the effects of, vata aggravation caused by vayu, by wind.
Right.
And It starts in 20 when the bladder is afflicted by the urine and comes out in drops. Continuous flows obstructed. This is called vata vasi. It's difficult to be cured. And then it says the second one, 23 begins. The second one is still more difficult to be cured. The powerful vayu comes in between the path of feces and the bladder. It generates kind of thick, knotty, round, raised concretions called vata sthila. They are found both in the feces and in the urine. That's weird. A sickness called vata kundalika is produced when semen is retained for a long time without emission. The deranged vayu lies within the bladder in a coil and gives great pain. It whirls after obstructing the urine. There is rigidity, heaviness, and convolution in the bladder. Urine is passed out bit by bit. 27-28. The urine being obstructed does not pass out completely. After the passage of urine, there is a slight pain. When the vayu is obstructed by the collection of urine, it returns to the umbilical region or lower abdomen and produces pain. There is no distension, but due to loss of strength, feces are collected and obstructed. Collected and obstructed. 29-30. Urine may enter the abdominal passage by the pressure of wind and stay in the bladder or umbilical region and flow out gradually. It may or may not be painful. It is without cessation. Its residue is dried up. Inside the bladder near its entrance there is a knotty, small, firm concretion like gravel. It is called mutra granthi. Sometimes a man in his sexual intercourse may not discharge semen immediately, although it might have been dislodged from its seat. This is due to the action of vayu, but when he begins to urinate, the semen may come out, either before or after urination. This too has been observed. 33. The urine then, it's very interesting. I mean, it's just such an effort to look at every symptomology that it encounters. 33. The urine then appears like water washing down ashes. The stuff is called mutra shukram, parenthetically spermatoria. Sometimes weak persons or those of harsh nature are afflicted by vayu when passing stools. 34. The fecal matter may get into the urinary tract, and hence the urine drop may have the smell of feces. This is called mutra vighata. Mutra shukram and mutra vighata. The first one was spermatoria in English, he says, but he doesn't have a name for the other. 35-36. The vayu aggravated by pitta, physical exercises, excessive intake of sharp acid foodstuffs, and inflammation may generate a burning sensation in the urinary bladder, and urine mixed with blood or blood alone comes out in hot jets. It is called ushnavata. Pitta and vayu in the urinary bladder of a constitutionally parched up or thoroughly weary man may cause deficiency of urine accompanied by pain and burning sensation. The ailment is called mutrakshaya. If either kapha or pitta or both are affected by vayu, the passage of urine is very painful. It is a thick fluid, yellow, red, and white in color. There is burning sensation. It may have the color of bile or powdered conch shell. It may be dry in some cases. It may have all the colors too. The ailment is called mutrasada. Thus, all ailments in the context of urination have been explained in detail.
Gee, we're glad that's over, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting. I can see that they'd figured out a bunch of things. They'd figured out that there was, you could get stones, you could get diseases that caused you to bleed, similar to what you had happen.
This is true. Yeah, well, yeah, that was a blockage caused by coagulated blood. They don't, it's. I think it would be very interesting for a urologist of a certain temperament to just listen to the descriptions presented here
and try to figure out what's what,
because he has a different way of describing all of these things, and but he may recognize as well what they're describing and even why they're interpreting it this way. Because it's not all based on a kind of dissecting physiology of the body, although they were cutting people up, they were looking inside, they were curious minds.
Well, people got injured too, and so there's all kinds of ways you learn these things.
And from a very early age, there was the practice of surgery in Indian tradition as well. So, I think, but I think that's only part of the picture, for them. The other part, it's like the whole chakra system and the mystical body. This is something that is seen by persons of a certain, again, a certain temperament. It's like through meditation, this is discerned. They're treated by people, often the chakras are treated as if they're like physiologically there in the body, but of course they have a different kind of existence. They exist on a different.
Well, they're an inward experience, not an external place.
And they're a tool, in a sense, for a certain kind of yogic experience. And if you're believing in the whole eschatology and stuff, like a certain kind of yogic advancement that will take you beyond your current physical incarnation, into the beyond, whatever that may be. Words fail at that point.
Yes, it's true. So that's another chapter.
So,
who knows what disease we'll get tomorrow?
I know.
We don't look ahead.
I did.
Oh, he did. Well, he knows.
It's diabetes.
Diabetes.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Indians have had traditional treatments for a long time, and do today, especially bitter melon is considered a therapeutic for diabetes. Okay, I'm going to press the button, and I'll see you later.